Present to you, Rock It Up.
Yeah.
On CFRE.
Yeah. Guys are ruining my intro. Live air, yeah. Ah, man. Ah, man. Ah, man. Ah, man. How's it going? Oh, it's been 3 months since I was in this booth. It's Saturday night. It's 7:57? And it's Rocket Up Radio at CFRE Studios? This is the first. And I'm hoping that this is not going to be a last. I'm hoping to come back to the show once every 3 months with a killer guest, no filler. It's going to be a lot of fun. And again, once every couple months, come back for a special. And today, I'm going to come back with a 90s special. It's usually a lot of fun, especially when I have a good friend here. Actually got a couple of really nice people here, but let me talk about the first guest. I've known this guy for about 20 years, went to different high schools in Mississauga, and one thing that we always loved is the pro wrestling. Yeah. And this guy used to make really good belts, championship belts, and today it is an honor to be presented it used to be called the Hardcore Liquor Championship belt, but back in the day, I earned that one. But today it's cleaned up. I have a cleaner image, and it is now the Hardcore Learning Champion. Yeah. And I hope that there is some special kid out there in one of the schools that I might be affiliated with that is going to hold that belt for a while. And battle kids at school, who's a better vocalist, who's a better ukulele player. My only concern is that thing's probably 10 pounds and might drag them down because, they're in grade 2 or grade 3. Oh. Yeah. Oh. But thank you so much. That belt.
You can always hold it for them.
I could. But that thing is a work of art. Your work has gotten so good over the last 20 years. You made me the Hardcore Liquor Championship belt. Yeah. In 2002, and I thought that thing was amazing. Yeah. I thought that thing was amazing, but honestly, I look at what I'm looking at now. That thing was so primitive, and I still love it. I still have it. Yeah. But this thing just, and just last year you presented me a Rocket Up World Heavyweight Championship belt. So now I'm 2 champions.
Yes, you are.
Appointed by me, of course.
I mean, that's a lot of belts.
That is a lot of belts. And
how's your back?
My back is messed up, but now I got a new belt and it's going to get even worse. But wow. All right, enough of this shenanigans. We are here to talk about 90s music, okay? We started the party a little bit early, okay? We have a couple really special call-ins, including a very funny fella by the name of Glenn Foster, a comedian out in Ottawa. We're going to be calling him in about 10 minutes. So this is the 90s episode. Thank you so much, Alex, for hanging out. We're going to talk about 90s. We're going to talk to a Blind Melon guitar player, Roger Stevens. And I was talking to him earlier today briefly for like 5 to 7 minutes, maybe 10. And he's a good dude. Good dude. So got a lot of interesting things to talk about. And we have a special friend here. He's got long hair, and he's got a guitar pick around his neck, so he's good with me.
Oh, he's got a...
Yeah, I also got a BC Rich down my arm.
Yeah, BC
He's got a BC Rich? Is that for Dimebag?
No, Dimebag played...
he played a Washburn, but didn't he play BC...
No, that's Slayer, man, right?
Slayer, yeah, Kerry King.
Okay, and who are you, friend? You got to adjust the mic here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I work here at the station. I am the tech kind of manager here, so I deal with all the microphones, equipment, boards, decks, basically making sure everything's going to run smooth for you guys tonight.
And yeah, so you're gonna help with that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, excellent. I'm gonna petition for you to get a raise. I don't know if it's gonna happen, but I'll try.
Get this guy a raise.
I know the big boss. All right. Thank you, Maurice, for everything you do for CFRE. All right, 90s. My friend, do you know anything about the 90s? You like the 90s?
I mean, it was before my time, but the 90s are definitely an iconic period for music. You had the whole grunge movement coming up, and the early hip-hop of the 90s was very prevalent at the time.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
In the 90s, I listen to a lot of angry music. I listen to a lot of hard rock and metal. I listen to quite a bit of rap. My best friend lived across the street, and every time I go to his place, I'd hear Tupac, Bone Thugs and Harmony. This is kind of that.
Yep.
You know, of course, a lot of alternative rock of the day, Nirvana, and that kind of stuff. So I grew up with a lot of different things. I'm going to start off this episode. There's so many good CDs that I have. Let me start off by telling you what I have, and then I'm going to get into something. I'm going to pick something, and then we're going to call in a couple minutes. So we're going to be talking to Roger Stevens from Blind Melon, talking about his new music, and of course Blind Melon, all the stuff in the 90s. We're looking at CDs from Soundgarden, Stone Temple Pilots, Kaya, Corrosion of Conformity, Zakk Wylde, Slash's Snake Pit, the Crow soundtrack, Pantera. I'm looking at Age of Electric, Limb Lifter, Jane's Addiction, The Verve, the Singles soundtracks. I'm looking at some really, really good stuff. But you know what I think I'm going to do? One of the first cassettes that I had as a 12-year-old boy, a cassette, was Stone Temple Pilots' sophomore album, and this would be titled Purple. And I bought it because Vaseline, that song rocked so hard. And after, damn near 30 years, I would say about 28 years, 29 years, I still love that song. So I believe that's number 2 on this CD. So we're going to check this out, and then we're going to have a call-in. We're going to start off this broadcast with a little Stone Temple Pilot.
STP.
Is that okay with you guys?
STP.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if not okay, it doesn't really matter. It's still my show at the end, but all right.
Let's just play some rock, man.
All right, let's do it. Rock it up. Woo! All right, getting this party started.
Woo!
Yeah, Saturday night, hanging out with the boys.
Saturday
I don't
night,
ever say
baby.
da boys.
Da
yeah.
boys.
Dem boys.
Them boys.
Rest in peace, Jay Briscoe. Man, sorry.
That was a hard one.
That was a tough one.
yeah.
That was a tough one. If you don't know who he is, go Google him. Anyways, he's not a 90s star. Google him. But we are here to talk about 90s music, and I know in a couple of minutes, in about 4 minutes, 4 minutes precisely, I'm going to be calling a special friend out in Ottawa, and we're going to be talking about that. Stone Temple Pilots. Anybody ever seen them live? Did you guys ever enjoy any tunes from them?
I enjoyed tunes from them. I don't remember names. That's my problem. But I've never seen a show.
I'm going to tell you my Scott Wayland story. There is no story. My friend won a contest, some Jim Beam contest, to meet Scott Wayland in Toronto. He lives in Sarnia. He used to host a radio show for Rocket Up in Sarnia. So he won this contest, and he got 3 bottles of Jim Beam, and a free stay in a hotel for like 2 nights downtown Toronto, and all access to a couple concerts. And one of them was like, I think like a Scott Wayland solo or whatever. We had the chance to meet Scott Wayland, but I balked at it because I'm like, I don't think he really cares. I've seen pictures of him where he was just like, yeah, whatever, like with like friends, and he just looks like he'd rather paint the walls and watch it dry. So I'm like, if I met him, maybe I'd be excited, but he doesn't look like he really wants to be there. So like my energy level would probably have gone down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It ruined your day.
Yeah. So I had a chance. I've talked about this multiple times on this show. The show I haven't hosted in 3 months. But yeah, I had a chance to meet him, and I decided, nah, I'm cool. But to be fair,
But sometimes they say, don't meet your heroes. You might be disappointed. That's why I always stayed away from
The meet and greet
fame.
experiences.
Yeah, I don't want to.
well, I mean, the thing is, how hard is it to smile and just say, hey, how's it going?
Yeah, but you're traveling all the time, and you just want to go to your hotel room and just,
No, I understand that, but if it wasn't for the fans,
you paid
you'd be
money to
working
go
in a
see
steel
that.
factory or something like
Yeah.
that. Let's never forget that. It's kind of in your job description, I feel.
It is, but everybody has a bad day.
Yeah, that too. Okay. All right, well, I'll tell you what. Let's get this party started. Well, we already did, actually a little bit early. We are going to call Ottawa and talk to...
Ottawa.
Hi, you've reached 613-425-1642. No
Uh-oh.
one's here to take your call. Please leave it.
Okay, now, to be fair, I told him to call him precisely at 8:10, so maybe he's just hurrying back to his landline. I'm going to catch him in a couple minutes. Yeah, I saw Stone Temple Pilots in 2000. I saw him with Fishbone opening up the show, Stone Temple Pilots, and then Red Hot Chili Peppers closing. And STP was, in my opinion, the best band of the night. And Scott Wayland was a very entertaining, charismatic frontman. So to be fair, he was very good at his job.
Absolutely.
It's a shame that he died, as early as he did.
I mean, that era has, a lot of tragedies.
The 90s.
The 90s was just, the heroin era. Not a lot of people made it out.
Yeah, we lost a lot of rockers, huh?
Yeah.
Kurt Cobain. Lane Staley was like the hardest thing ever. You know?
I didn't believe it when I remember I was working at Boston Pizza. My buddy ran up. I was on my break, and he's like, "Yo, Lane Stanley passed away." I'm like, what? No. And it was all over the news. I was like, wow.
Yeah. I was working at Esso gas station in 2002. That was like my first full-time job. And when I found out he passed away, immediately, my first shift after, hearing this was all Alice in Chains. I was able to...
Because, out of the grunge era, that was my favorite band. If I had to pick one.
Okay.
Them I like listening to.
All right. Yeah, that's my favorite for sure.
Yeah.
But I dedicated like 7 hours, maybe 8 hours to Alice in Chains and solo projects from Lane Staley and Jerry Cantrell. And I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think, young fella? You a big Alice in Chains fan? Or?
Alice in Chains is one of the best grunge bands out there. Lane Stanley's vocals are
Staley!
Yeah, man, absolutely.
They're so
All right,
raw.
that right
So
there,
much
you should
passion.
exit.
The passion.
If it wasn't for the fact that he can
passion.
fix up all these little technical doohickeys,
Doesn't matter.
be kicked out right now. No, I'm kidding with you. Staley.
Yeah.
He's my favorite. I would say he's my favorite rock vocalist.
Yeah,
Yeah. Do I have any?
he's up there.
Funny enough, I don't think I actually brought Alice in Chains.
We can find some.
No, it's okay. It's okay. What I need to do, I'm going to give Ottawa a ring-a-ding-ding right now.
Hi, you've reached 613-425.
Oh, this is unfortunate. Okay, you know what?
Leaking his numbers everywhere right now.
All right. Let's go to a song. What is some of your favorite 90s band, Alex?
I have to say Tool, Pantera. You know,
Pantera.
I guess this was like late '90s. Like I got into Slipknot recently.
Mm-hmm.
After I saw him live, I was like, "Yo,
What an experience!
why was I not listening to this back in like the early 2000s and stuff?" You know,
Mm-hmm.
because seeing them live, I was
9
blown
guys
away.
on stage,
Yeah, it
tons
was
of
just-
pyro. Oh yeah.
yeah, it was just amazing show. And they toured with Manson.
Marilyn Manson.
Manson opened for them. He was wasted that night. He couldn't, you know.
I wish I could see that. If I could build a time machine to 1995, one of the dream shows I'd have is 1995, Marilyn Manson opening up for 9 Inch Nails. 94? No, better yet, 1994. 94 and 95, those would be the dream years for me. On that note, I'm going to try calling my friend again, squeeze him in. His landline is out.
Yes.
All right, we got on the horn one of Canada's top comedians. He just relocated to Ottawa a couple years ago. Funny man, Mr. Glenn Foster. How are you today, sir?
Good, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great. I haven't hosted a radio show in 3.5 months, so, a little rusty here. Some of these doohickeys are got some cobwebs on it. I had to, dust it off and figure out how to do this again, but, I'll get back into the groove. We are here. So I'm back to only host like really cool specialty episodes, and I have somebody from Blind Melon calling in about 20 minutes. I'm going to be having this really great chat with him, but I'm very excited to chat with you because we have some brief history. I have memories of you attending at least one of my old band Stone River's live shows, and I think you even purchased a CD. And this is like 12 years ago, and I've stumbled into you before, and I am a fan of your work. I've seen some of your clips over the last 7-10 years, and you're a funny guy. I'm sure people tell you this all the time. And we'll talk about what you're doing now. But I want to ask you something. What did you used to listen to in the 90s? We're talking about the 90s on this episode. What kind of stuff did you listen to?
Probably stuff from the 70s and 80s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was
Like what? Like what?
Oh, I was a bit of a metalhead in high school
Okay.
and beyond. But here's the thing. I was never into the lifestyle. I just liked the music, right? In fact, I wouldn't even go to a metal concert till I was older because I thought, I don't know, could be trouble.
Yeah. Funny enough, I've met a lot of metalheads who are fully tattooed, and they look like very angry people, but they're the sweetest people ever, would probably pick up a kitty and give it a hug. And I would approve that decision, let me tell you. Happy Catterday.
I don't know if I'd necessarily classify most of what I listen to is probably, classic rock. I wouldn't necessarily call it, metal per se. But, the Iron Maidens and the Judas Priest, AC/DC, Rush, all these, so Triumph, Styx, Foreigner. We're getting into the oldies now. But come the 90s, I guess probably GNR I was listening to. Isn't that Use Your Illusion came out?
Yeah, 1 and 2. Yeah. And I mean, in 1992, those guys were so huge. Like, they must have been on tour. They went on tour for like 2.5 years. Something ridiculous like that. And I think, they had to replace Izzy Stradlin with Gilby Clarke for, midway into the tour and just make it seamlessly. And I don't know, the ridiculousness of it all.
I never saw Guns N' Roses either. I always wanted to, but you could never be sure if they were going to show up on time or leaving in a helicopter half an hour in. So it's like, I always want to see Guns N' Roses, but there is no way that I would take a chance and buy a ticket.
Well, I'm sure participating in a riot would be a lot of fun. I think it's underrated. Yes. You should try it sometime.
Now, I did see last year here in Ottawa a Guns N' Roses tribute band as part of they do this big thing called Nostalgia Fest. And boy, they were fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I was quite impressed.
Nice. Okay, let me shift to something else that I really love: comedy and TV. I have been to a lot of Yuck Yuck shows over the year and seen some incredible comedians. And in the 90s, there was a lot of really funny shows that really made me laugh. And, stuff like I really enjoyed Frasier and, of course, Seinfeld. And I thought In Living Color was, I thought, brilliant. That thing going to last a month in today's standards. But, you being a professional funny man, what kind of stuff really moved you in the 90s, like, TV-wise?
Comedians?
Yeah, or sitcoms or something like that.
Obviously a Seinfeld fan.
Yes.
I liked Friends.
Friends, huh? Okay.
The ones you mentioned there, Frasier, obviously.
Yeah, I like that one.
Now you put me on the spot here. It's one of these situations where the older I get, it's like, yeah, I have the answer, but can I access it in my brain?
I thought you're like 45. How old are you again?
I am over 60, my
friend. No. Okay,
Yes.
You got to be kidding with me. He's a funny guy.
Think about it. When I saw your band, that was when there were shows going on at the Hard Rock Cafe. Were there like Wednesday nights or something like that?
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, so I was, or it might have been even, I don't know. But at the same time, I was hosting an open mic at Jeff Healy's club, right? And that was around 2005, I guess. But yeah, I definitely remember the name Stone River. In fact, I remember seeing you, and I always like to, if I enjoy a band, if I go to see a live band, I always try to buy a CD or a T-shirt or something.
Bless your heart.
'Cause I know there's no money in music. There's no money in comedy either, but that's another story.
Yes.
But, so I always try to support, buy and I remember saying to you that you guys looked and sounded sounded great. But looked like if I saw you on the street, I'd go, yeah, that's a good greasy rock and roll band right there.
Nice.
And I mean that complimentary, good greasy.
I know, you say it with a lot of affection. I appreciate that. Comedy is like my second love. Honestly, I think I developed a lot of my snarky kind of remarks because of stuff like Frasier and In Living Color. I would say I get my sass tongue from that, I would say.
Right.
Yeah, you know what else really makes me laugh? I don't know, this has nothing to do with TV or anything, but I love when somebody misspells something. It's so bad. Like, I actually see on Facebook somebody spelled brother Borther, and I just got a kick out of it, and I just really chuckle. Like, I don't know if that makes me a bad person or not, but I love background.
Are you a grammar Nazi?
No, but I try to, sound somewhat intelligent.
I'm a bit of a grammar Nazi. I'm sorry to say it, but as a writer, it infuriates me when people just, mismatch there and there and there, or you and your.
Yeah.
And
every day.
Used to call them I used to just put a note, comment in public, but I don't do that anymore. I just message them privately and go, yeah, that's not right.
Well, when you're not correcting grammar, you're performing live all over Ontario. It's that time where I'm going to get you to plug your many endeavors, sir, because we have to play some music very soon. And thank you so much for calling in. But tell me, what's been going on with you? What's been going on with you? Cole's Notes here.
Well, pandemic kind of knocked everything for a loop, so everything's, I moved to Ottawa pretty much just in time for the pandemic. And I have to say, Ottawa's a good place to be for the pandemic, with so many people working from home, all the government workers, all the high-tech workers. So, the roads are pretty clear. I moved from Oakville to Ottawa, moving through the O's. Probably going to go to, Oshawa next. Who knows?
Oshawa.
But,
lovely.
Yeah, the other end of the GTA from where I came. But no, my point being, if I used to do a gig on a Friday night in Toronto, living in Oakville, I'd be leaving at like 4:00 in the afternoon. Or just because you never know with the traffic situation, right? In Ottawa, I live in the suburbs, and man, I can be on stage anywhere in Ottawa in about 40 minutes.
Right on. So you have shows coming up that you want to talk about quickly?
I've got some stuff coming up. I'm doing some. I don't have any actual headline shows. I'm kind of putting an album together at the moment, but I'm going to be doing some special guest spots. They haven't been announced yet, but that's going to be at Absolute Comedy from July 20th to the 23rd.
Okay.
So that's about all I got going. Summer's slow, right? It's really hard to convince people to go indoors in the summer.
It's very hard to convince people to listen to a 2-hour radio show every Saturday afternoon too.
I bet
And I get it
that-
too, you
that-
know.
that-
I get it.
Maybe too.
Oh yeah, you know, that's the thing. I feel like, you know, with what we do, we are entertainers, but I think that's where, you know, we have to flex our salesman muscle and, you know, see if we can word post together or in such a way that you can bring people into the door. I don't know.
Well, this is the game, right? I mean, so if people want to, see stuff online or whatever, they can find. I'm the most findable guy. ThatCanadianGuy.com.
Okay, that's wonderful.
In fact, if you were to Google that Canadian guy, I think I'm the first thing up.
That's amazing. I'm going to do that in about 2 seconds, but I'm on the phone with you right now. I'm going to let you go. One last question. Okay, so I'm going to play something from The Crow, the movies, the soundtrack. Thoughts on the movie? You ever get a chance to watch that movie? What's your thoughts?
I like the movie. It's been a long time. I did enjoy the movie. And I recall the soundtrack being great, but man, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, okay. Well,
who played on it. You know?
Okay. Well, I'll tell you right now. So
You tell me.
Yes. When I was 12 years old, first of all, my sister bought this CD, and I used to listen to the S out of it, keeping it PG. As a 12-year-old real rocker in training, I was really exposed to, you know, for the first time, 9 Inch Nails, Rage Against the Machine, the Rollins Band, Pantera, who I thought sucked before I heard the soundtrack. You know, the Jesus and Mary chain. There's some really cool stuff, and you know, I was like, all in one CD. It was a very important CD. Still is in my vast collection, and I do mean vast. This movie was amazing as well too. It was such a 90's thing, you know. And I'm just glad that the memory lives on. Mr. Glenn, I am going to let you go. One last time, where do people find you? Give me your website.
ThatCanadianGuy.com. Not the Canadian guy.
Never.
ThatCanadianGuy.com.
Excellent. Everybody go check this out right after this next song. All right, Mr. Foster, take care of yourself, brother.
You too, man.
Okay, bye-bye. All right, this Crow soundtrack, yeah, it's great. We're going to hear something, and then I'm going to give another ring-a-ding-ding, this time to, well, I think Pennsylvania. We're going to be talking to our friend from Blind Melon. But first, we have to listen to something from the Crow soundtrack. So, before the show officially started testing out all the mics and stuff, we heard the Rollins Band, Ghost Rider, which is a great song. But let's go through this one more time. There's a great song from the band The Cure. I'm lukewarm on them. Yeah. Machines of Love and Grace, some band. This song's actually pretty cool. Stone Temple Pilots, Big Empty. We already heard some SDP. 9 Inch Nails, Dead Souls is a good one. I think that's a cover. Rage Against the Machine, Darkness. Yeah, that's a good song. I don't want to play rap rock. Violet Femmes, Color Me Once. Pretty good. Rollins Band, Ghost Rider. That song rocked really hard. Yeah. Helmet, Milquetoast. That song's pretty good. Helmet. What did you think? You like them? Yeah. Do you remember who Helmet was?
Yeah. I mean, I hear.
I'm
gonna
go with a solid 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
That's not really a good number in my book. So
I mean, I never really gave it a lot of, you know.
Yeah. Well, we had better things to listen to, like Pantera, and they're on it right after Helmet. Pantera, 20 out of 10.
Yes, sir.
For Love Not Lisa, that's a terrible name. They have a song. My Life with the Thrill Kill Cult. That's an interesting name. That's of a band. The Jesus and Mary chain. There's some good stuff here. Did you have the soundtrack?
I had the movie. I never had the soundtrack because I
have the movie too.
Yeah, I had the soundtrack for the second one, and I don't know. I think it was given to me, or I know I didn't buy it.
Okay. Well, I think I'm gonna play. There's a song. It's really, really cool. It sounds very druggy, to be honest with you. It sounds like very druggy, and it's called Time Baby 3, whatever that is. I don't know what the song is about. They're probably in some alternative reality, perhaps, putting it politely. Time Baby 3. I have no... What is that? I don't know. But this song sounds so cool, and it sounds so 90s. Therefore, it should be on this show. And you know what? I'm going to play it right now. Why? Because I can do whatever I want.
Saturday night, baby.
Saturday night, baby. All right, here we go. I got the medicine for you. Time Baby 3 on Rock It Up. Woo! Time Baby 3. Before I make this phone call, let me see if I can explain exactly what a Time Baby 3 is, using some sort of logic here. Time Baby. Remember, I'm trying to use logic here. And there's a Time Baby 3. So there was like a first generation one. A special baby born with mystical powers that can, as an infant, travel through time and somehow, I don't know, it makes no sense. But I do love that song. It's in the key of G, and that's actually one of my favorite keys, and C sharp. All right, fun stuff. Speaking of fun, let's make a special phone call to Mr. Rogers Stevens from Blind Melon. Here we go, brothers and sisters.
Hello.
Hello there, Mr. Roger Stevens. How are you today?
Hang on, let me get you connected to my ear pods here.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. Is that good?
Oh, that's wonderful. How are you tonight?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm excellent. I mean, I'm getting a chance to talk to you. It's been a while since I've interviewed a Blind Melon member. Actually, it's been about 10, 11 years, and now I get a chance to...
I'm not your first. You mean I'm not your first?
No. I think I popped my Blind Melon cherry about 10, 11 years ago.
With who?
With Mr. Brad Smith.
Oh, yeah, Brad. Okay, cool.
Fun fact, I got a chance to work with your guitar player, Chris Thorne, in a studio about 10, 11 years ago as well, too. So I'm so grateful to... Oh, he was a producer of my band Stone River's second album. It's called Euphoria, Love, Sick, and Blue.
Oh, I know your band.
Yeah. My singer tried out for you guys, I think, right?
I thought you guys were awesome.
Oh.
Are you not? Are you still playing?
Well, actually, funny enough, I mean, I didn't want to really sneak it in there, but I play in a band called Wayward Saints. I'll send you something after this chat for you to review and let me know what your honest thoughts are. But yeah, so we have history together.
I'll write a formal review, Darren.
Oh, please, thank you. That would mean
it'll be detailed, track by track, everything.
Oh wow.
It'll be. I'm kidding, man.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
don't know anything. I will listen to it.
All right. You got me there. Okay. Well, I am so excited to chat with you. I have a bunch of questions that I just want to rattle off to you. And are you ready to get into this?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So, for those who don't know, Roger Stevens was in a band called, or still is in a band called Blind Melon, and they had some very big success in the 90s. And, well, I'll let him talk about how great his band is in a little bit. But I want to know what your first pleasant memory of music was. You know, as a wee lad, 6 years old, and you grew up in Mississippi, right? Not Mississauga, Mississippi.
Yeah. I can tell you, a few specific examples that
Please.
I remember that are sort of fade in, fade out examples. And, there wasn't, I'll preface this by saying there wasn't very, my mother played piano and sang beautifully, but we didn't have a record player. We had kind of like a radio in the kitchen or something, I think. But, I would go and listen every Sunday. I would go to church and I would listen. I would run out at noon when church was out. I would literally sprint out as a kid. I get the keys, and I knew how to turn the key backwards to turn the radio on. And so, because Casey Kasem would count down the top 3 from the previous week, and then he would do the top 40, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I could hear what the top 3 songs were. And I remember loving a few things, and I remember riding around with my mother driving, like a station wagon, like a wood panel station wagon.
Mm-hmm.
This would be in the 74, 75 are probably my earliest memories. But I remember hearing Band on the Run, and just being fascinated by it. I remember hearing, obsessing over Rod Stewart's "You're in My Heart." I never knew what day it was when you walked into the room. That tune. Brilliant song. And And so a few things. Sister Golden Hair by America. But there was a lot of country music around where I grew up. It's a very small rural area, at the time in the 70s.
Do you remember how old? Okay, you said that you got used to play piano. Do you remember starting as a 4 or 5-year-old?
Yeah, but I also want to say, aside from that, going along from my earliest memories is singing in church.
Okay.
I would sing, like Southern hymnal, the old rugged cross, and blessed assurance, all these, blessed assurance, which were, it would be like, somebody would be speaking lyrics on the top of some, classical masterpiece, or, stealing some sort of, appropriation of, spirituals, from Black people in the South. But I didn't know any of this at the time, of course. But that there was that, and then I think I took piano lessons probably beginning when I was around 9 or 10, and maybe for like 2 years. And I had 2 different teachers, and I don't remember my first teacher's first name, but her last name was Regal. And then Susie Marshall was my second teacher in West Point, Mississippi.
Did you remember enjoying it? Because I know
I mean, no, not really. But I did. I had some sort of instinct about the value of it, but I wasn't really thinking about music, anything. I was just a kid,
Mm-hmm.
I was, playing outside. I had a 3-wheeler. I ride through mud and shit, and I played some sports, and all the usual hunting and fishing and stuff.
What was it like growing up in Mississippi? It's very different. Like I told you I got a chance to visit Alabama for the first time ever last year, and got a chance to see the South.
Right.
And I thought it looked beautiful. But again, I was only there for like a week. But what is it really like to live in these parts? Mississippi, Alabama, Mississippi.
I mean, the pace of life is very different, and when I hear it, in the way that Glenn and Brad and I played together. I hear it in certain other acts where it might not be so obvious, but there is, a pace to life there that's very different than anything that I experienced, after the age of 18 when I moved out to Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't go back and live in Mississippi at any point. I live in Philadelphia now, which is a much different,
Mm-hmm.
Place. But the South has changed a lot in my lifetime. But when I was there, you have to remember, at what point we are in history, which is, I was born in 1969, so
Mm-hmm.
I sort of came of age in an interesting time to be in the South, I guess.
Did you?
But it's, where I'm from is up in the northeastern part, like where Elvis is from, or William Faulkner. Tennessee Williams is from right there. Howlin' Wolf is from my hometown.
Wow.
So.
Did you used to dream about?
Chester Arthur was his name.
Did you used to, as a young lad, dream about moving to the big city, like L.A. or New York, as a high school kid and getting out there with music?
Well, much earlier, when I was probably about 5 years old, I got exposed to comic books.
Oh, really?
So I was obsessed with comic books from the age of that moment, age 5 or whatever. I still remember exactly where I was.
Are you still obsessed with comic books?
No, I mean, my son is, but I whatever. I just kind of got out of it, And I'll tell you why specifically. All right. But so I was into that because it was like an escape,
Yes.
I did grow up in a very rural place where nothing really happened.
Oh, okay, I understand.
In terms of you enjoy the outdoors and you work and you stuff like that, but in sports or whatever. But it's not there's not any really that many things like cultural events that come around like rock concerts at all.
Oh,
So I had no exposure to anything like, any sort of like alternative music or whatever they call it, or really a lot of records at all. I mean, I heard the top 40 on the radio. That's all I knew. And country music. I mean, it's all I knew. And church music. So, which to me, the first time I heard the Rolling Stones, I was like, oh, it's the same thing. So I understood it at that point, but
I
don't know.
Sorry, go on.
Well, I don't know where I was going.
Well, we
with
started
that.
talking about comic book and it was Escape, and I really want to tell you that I'm actually a full-on Marvel nerd. I'm not embarrassed to tell you about that. That's amazing.
It's not that I don't love it, and I was, at the
You're a grown man.
At the time, yeah. But I was into it, you're talking, 74, 75, up until, I remember when they cost 15 cents,
Oh yeah, and they're probably worth thousands now.
And I couldn't, and I could only get them in two places really, and I had to walk. But we would go and visit my grandparents in a little town called Macon, and there was a little drugstore down there. And every month they got us a rack stuffed with, like the revolving tall rack thing. And it would be stuffed with all the latest Marvel comics and the DC stuff. I never bought DC comics.
Neither have I. Amazing. Wow.
I just felt like, I don't know, whatever that is, they sort of tapped into something that DC was just too,
But the other thing is that
cute or something.
There's so many characters in the Marvel universe, and now if you have to go to DC or Dark Horse or any of this other stuff, it's like, oh, now I have to know about these people. It's like, how much spot in my brain do I have for this nerdery? And there's a lot of information.
A lot of times, I just remember looking at the DC, and there were so many weird characters that were kind of like jokes, and I always felt like the joke was on me. And you know what I mean? And it wasn't like, I'm looking for something to believe in, you know what I mean? And so, but anyway, so I was into that for a long time. And I probably, I was buying them for years, and then I had a big collection of them, and which disappeared eventually. But I was, when I was about 13 years old, and I think I was in the 7th or 8th grade, we had a motivational speaker type come to the school, but it was more of like a cautionary speaker. And when we walked into the gym, he had on two tripods, right? He had like for painters, like a painter would put a canvas on. Okay. And on one of them, he had a blown up picture, the cover of Ozzy Osbourne's Blizzard of Oz.
Mm-hmm.
And on the other one, he had a blown up cover of Motley Crue's Shout of the Devil.
Right.
Now, I had never seen or heard of either of these things at all. I don't think anybody there had. This is like a fundamentalist Christian school, right?
Yeah. Uh-oh.
Which I went all 12 years to.
You poor soul.
So anyway, this guy, he was kind of like a preacher, right? So he just scared the shit out of everybody, except me and a couple of my friends, and I swear to God, within 3 days, I had a Motley Crue record. And because they looked like superheroes or something, like the pictures, they were they were dressed up in it looked like
costumes.
something could be in a comic book, right?
Some evil villain in X-Men or something.
And so, I was attracted to that, and then, the sound was cool. It was like, I fucking hated, I don't know, I didn't understand. It felt very narrow where I was. So, I was already sort of starting to sense that I didn't, like this or love the school so much necessarily. But, I later came to have a more nuanced view of the world, I should say. But I think, I was just a typical teenage sort of, starting to feel rebellious,
And then...
but anyway, so...
By 18 years old, you decided you and your buddies were going to move to LA and start a band. Is that how the story goes?
I got to tell you, I'm about to wrap this up.
Okay.
I know it's taken a long time.
No, it's okay.
I'm
Sorry.
going to tell you that this in December of 1993, you know, it was that semester of school, or 1983, excuse me. I told, I saw that Van Halen was coming to Memphis Mid-South Coliseum, which is about 2 hours away, on a school night. And we convinced one of my friend's dad's tickets there. And we had tickets in the very top row of the Coliseum. And I'd never seen a rock concert. And they came out with Unchained. I don't know if you remember that track. But, you know, I just, all of the feelings I had about comic books, like, they just got completely switched over to like rock bands.
Wow. Okay.
You know what I mean? It was like all of a sudden, because, you know, when I was reading comic books, there was a point when I was probably like 6 that I thought, you know, when I grow up, I'm going to get some superpowers and I'm going to move to like New York, and I'm going to be, you know, be a superhero. You know, sort of delusions of grandeur type thing.
Okay.
And then, but then I saw, you know, David Lee Roth and Eddie, and he was amazing. And I was just hooked. It was like, that was it. This is what I'm doing. I'm never going to get superpowers. I'd figured it out by then, you know. And but you know, this is sort of like the next best thing.
Well, I mean, you ended up being in a very successful band. That's kind of cool. That's rock superpowers right there.
Yeah, I mean, you know, life changed pretty quick right after that. Things went real, you know, negative. So I didn't, you know, just sit home and all that kind of stuff. So I didn't really have a ground underneath me. And so by the time I moved to LA when I was 18, you know, we didn't even tell our families, Brad and I.
Wow.
We just, like, I mean, until like a few days before. But we had a plan for like a year or a year and a half. And we were like, you know, we bonded over this, and this is what we're going to do. And we're going to go out there. We just assumed it would work. You know, we'll just move out there and find a few other people like us and, you know, pick up our gold records.
I mean, California would have been quite the hot spot in the early 90s. You try to get signed, and you got to
this was 1988.
1988.
And it was not. It was very different than what we thought it was going to be. And, you know, we drove all the way to California, Brad and I, like all of our belongings, and each of us had $800.
And this would be the bass player for Blind Melon, for those who might not know who Brad is. Yeah. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, Brad. I mean, you know, we had bands in high school and whatnot, and so we drove all the way there. And we didn't know anybody. We didn't know where we were going. The only thing we had was a connection to possibly work in another meatpacking plant, because we had both been working basically in a slaughterhouse in Mississippi for a few months.
Damn.
You know, to make money to go out there. I almost cut my fucking hand off in that place.
Yeah, no, it's not good for a guitar player, let me tell you.
No, I had a scar on my hand. If I showed it to you, you'd be like, yeah, you almost cut your hand off.
I was very close to taking a job as a meatpacking worker. I took one look and the smell in the air, and I walked out. I'm like, no, can't do that. I'm going to lose a finger. I know I'm clumsy. Sorry, I had to throw that in there.
It was the number one. It was the number one employer in my hometown. They employed more people, and it was the only place where we could get a job making more than minimum wage. So we could, you know, do this. So we both worked on night shift. We both worked on all kinds of crews. I worked in the actual abattoir, but I mean, they were killing, you know, 2,000 hogs a day in there.
Wow. Yeah,
so,
that's reality.
I was standing right there, you know, like I was standing right by a giant flamethrower that blasted all of the hair off of it. It was hanging upside down like on a conveyor belt, and it would come through. But, you know, the only thing I tell people, there's a movie called, I forgot, but it's got Greg Kinnear as the star of the movie, and it's about the meatpacking industry, and how they show it in that movie is exactly where I worked. It looks exactly like it.
I've read a really interesting book. It's called, I think, Fast Food Nation, if I remember correctly. And
yeah, that's it. That's the movie, and they made the movie.
Very eye-opening story, and it just really makes you think twice. You know, a lot of people. Yeah. Sidebar. We're not talking about music, but we'll just finish this thought, or I will. A lot of people, you go to your grocery store, you get, you know, a little bit of meat. You're gonna cook a hamburger. Nobody really knows where exactly they came from. They just magically shows up at your your deli or whatever.
I don't want to know. I
Yeah.
don't want to know, and
Oh.
I'm too lazy to kill and clean a cow myself. I
No.
just want to eat it and hope for the best.
I don't want to know that.
I'm not the agent of change here, Darren.
No. I don't want to know about that, but you know what I want to know? I want to know how you guys all got together. So you, Brad, and drummer Glenn Graham left Mississippi at the age of 18, and you went to LA to find your band.
Brad was a little bit older. Brad was a couple years older, 2 years older than me in terms of school years.
Mm-hmm.
He was already he'd finished his sophomore year in college. He was kind of like doing that while I was finishing up my high school, and but Glenn was not involved at that point at all. He had a different band.
Mm-hmm.
He came out later, but Brad and I went out by ourselves, and we didn't know anybody, so that took a while. Like at first, I mean, we spent a long time. No one would rent us an apartment because every time we would go to look at something, we would show up with all of our stuff in the car. I mean, we look like definitely we were like, we were coming off the street, which, in fact, we kind of were at that point. And it took a long time, like months before Brad actually got an apartment. And then for a while I was staying there, and he met Christopher first, like separately from the band.
And he was from Pennsylvania, if I remember correctly.
Right. Like Brad was down playing. He would play like cover songs and some of his songs that he had written down on like Venice Beach with his girlfriend at the time. And one of the songs was No Rain, actually.
Yeah.
So they were doing that, like kind of busking, really. And I started hanging out more like up in Hollywood, and I was working on Melrose at like a rock memorabilia store. And Brad had a real job. He was building houses from the ground up. I mean, Brad got really good at carpentry. And then I met Shannon.
You were the band member that met him, the first one ever?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Because I met him, I think there was a woman out there, and I can't remember her name, and I apologize to her right now, but she had a demo tape of us, right? And she was passing it around, and people were kind of like, wow, because Brad and I and another drummer had started recording these songs, and some of them being like, we had like rough versions of I don't know, 3 or 4 of the tunes that ended up on the first record before we met Shannon, and then I met him at a party, and he'd only been in town for about a week, but I'd already heard about him, And so this woman who had gotten our demo and was like trying to help us out, knew we were looking for a singer, introduced him to me at a party, and we ended up hanging out, drinking all night. And he didn't have anywhere to go. Now, he'd been in LA for about a week, right? And he had been staying with Axel. But I think he'd gotten in a fight with Axel or something.
No.
And
that would never happen.
He had to leave the condo, right? So he had nowhere to go. And so I said, well, just come down. I was staying on Brad's couch at the time in Culver City. And he had 2 couches, like in a perpendicular, setup. And I said, there's another couch, you can sleep on that. And so, like a little one, there's a long couch and like a love seat. I'm sleeping on the big couch. And so we go back, and we're both lying on the couch. We've been drinking, and we were rotten drunk. And I didn't know Shannon. The first day I'd ever met him. And he said something like that I thought was kind of like really dumb, And I kind of laughed at him a little bit. I mean, not at him. I was just sort of laughing at the thing that he said. It was ridiculous. And before I could even catch my breath, he was up and in my face like a bulldog, veins popping on his neck, and he was screaming. He's like, don't ever like mock me or any of that shit. And then he went over to the phone. He said, I'm getting a cab back to Indiana.
Wow.
And I was like, wait. And then I laughed at him again. And so then, because I was like, you're going to get a cab from Los Angeles to Indiana. Like, that's how drunk he was.
Yeah, how are you going
And
to pay for
he starts
it?
trying to dial a phone number. But we're almost about, it was only later that I realized how badly that would have gone for me. You know what I mean? But, and I'm the only person that I've ever seen him get that mad at and not take a swing at. And the same with, like, I've seen him get that mad in the band context, and he never did that, but everybody else was in danger. And it just, it was just like over and over. I never knew. But he was, a third-degree black belt, and he was, a state champion wrestler in high school.
Right. I've seen pictures from Mama Nell Hoon's Facebook account about all this stuff. I'm like, oh, really? Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah, but, like, that's the thing. He's the best Street Fighter I ever saw. And I got to see all of the bouts, or a lot of them. And there were a lot of them. So, and that's the thing that a lot people don't really know about him, because he came off as like this hippie or whatever.
Right.
But that dude, like, if he thought he was being disrespected or whatever, or one of his friends, somebody was about, he did stand up for people who couldn't stand up for themselves, and I saw that.
Wow. Yeah.
I also saw him, the devil in him. He just didn't. He didn't like authority. He didn't like anybody telling him what to do. He hated the police. I saw him twice get arrested for punching New Orleans police officers, just in that one town.
Yeah, that's pretty serious stuff. I wouldn't recommend anybody to do that.
No. I mean, I'm just trying to, give you a sense of what we were dealing with.
Yeah.
And but the flip side of that is that he would, in the morning, he would he'd be the first to make you bacon and eggs and clean up the damn house. Like, I lived with him in Hollywood for a while. We had this little house. It was literally a Hollywood bungalow, right off of Sunset and La Brea, near, like, 2 blocks from where the old A&M Records studio was, which is where they were recording the Guns N' Roses record. And, we lived there, and he was amazing. Like, he was a neat freak. He was, like the house was immaculate all the time. He couldn't stand it, if it was a mess. I was kind of a slob. So,
well, rock and
we lived
roll
like that for about a year. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, a lot of stuff happened.
I mean, I think it's, kind of part of the lifestyle. You're a rock and roller, young in your 20s, Things are going to be all over the place a little bit. You're a little disheveled. I mean, I don't know. It's not like you're going to an office job. Yeah.
We were musicians who had all come from similar backgrounds, and most of us having had, like, real, like, kind of trauma in the family or personal. But we were musicians first, like, real, like that was the reason why we were there. I would have stayed home if I weren't doing that, So it's like, but we were also, unfortunately saddled with, leanings toward debauchery and just behavioral problems, I think.
It's very rock and roll, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. We have quite a lot of time to hang out and chat. I wanted to ask you about your first memories of a jam with everybody in the room. I read something about you guys heard Shannon, who he played you change, I'm guessing on the acoustic guitar, and you guys decided right then and there that you wanted him as the singer. Is that, can you confirm?
Yeah. So this was during, at the beginning of this time I just told you about. And when I met Shannon, and then a couple of days later, we had already brought Christopher in at that point. Or no, just right after that we did. Because Brad had known him before. But I brought Shannon over to this garage that we had sort of soundproofed, that our drummer at the time, to the back of his parents' house. And he sat on the floor with an acoustic guitar, and he played Change, and sang it, and it was like it was stunning. His voice, to me, like at first I thought, wow, he kind of sounds like a girl or a woman, female voice, but a really cool, female voice, like Janis Joplin.
I was just going to say, like Janis Joplin's younger sister or something like that.
Yeah, but then
you mentioned
he
that.
also had that sort of Rod Stewart thing. He had that rasp, but just a sensitivity to it that was never, like, as far as, I don't feel like it was on any of our records. It was completely captured. Because when you sat in the room with him with the acoustic guitar, which I did over and over and over, and I could conjure up his voice clearly, like clear as a bell in my mind to this day. But I heard him sing, so many songs, and he had a gift, man. He just had like a tone in his voice that was pure.
Maybe almost like a Tones of Home.
It was expressive. It was a direct conduit between whatever it was in him that he needed to express in his emotions or whatever, and what came out of his face. It was a direct conduit. It was perfect.
Yeah,
he was amazing like that. And so, we had a lot of cool experiences, like out in the desert and all these weird, like Burning Man, like this is way before anything like that. But they're like just weird, like ad hoc festivals in the desert with bands and and people, 2,000 people from LA, just randomly going out to this thing. Like these are like early, like Coachella, like before Coachella or anything. But in that same place, we used to go out there all the time. And that's where the band really kind of bonded and started writing songs. Like that's what, there's songs on our record that reference that. Definitely on Soak This In.
Well, speaking of specific songs, not that one. I'm sure you've been asked about this a million trillion times. Hopefully not these kind of questions, but I wanted, to ask you about the song No Rain, which is I guess that's a Brad song. When you guys jammed it, maybe for the first couple times, do you remember that thinking, this is something that is very catchy and, pretty uplifting with just the music, not necessarily the lyrics? Did you think that this could possibly be a hit? Well,
I did think at the time, and I remember thinking about it like this, that it was kind of like it reminded me of the theme song from Sesame Street or something. We were all influenced by things like Schoolhouse Rock or like the stuff that was on PBS, like as kids, it was just, we didn't have 100 TV channels. I had 2 TV channels growing up. One of them was PBS. So, you hear that music, and I thought it was like that, and I did think it was memorable. But I also thought that Change was probably I would have bet on that one before No Rain. But the video was extraordinary. Sam Baer, who directed that video, he made magic.
It's a genius video. I have to say that I'm emotionally more connected to Change. I'm going to tell you briefly about my introduction to Blind Melon. I was a raging metalhead, and I listened to a lot of angry music at 12. Yeah, and I love it. Right? It's not something a 12-year-old should be listening to. I can tell you this as a 40-year-old man now. However, I grew up listening to a lot of angry music, but my sister had the first album. I used to try to give it a spin, and I didn't connect to me, except for Change. I've been covering that song since a 12-year-old boy, and always in the key of A, where you guys normally have it. Fun fact: I have perfect pitch. I think I might have explained that. It's a great key. It's a great song.
I do not.
Well, we'll talk about. Anyways, I invented my own ear training exercises at 12, and I spent like 15
Oh
minutes.
shit! I need to know them.
I want to. I'll explain it to you at another time. I would love to explain it to you. But anyways,
Okay.
that album, it wasn't like, again, I was listening to a lot of angry music, and it didn't connect with me except for that one song. At about 26, it took me like another 13 years, and I picked it up again. I bought it. And I gave it a listen. I'm like, okay, now I've grown up a little bit. I understand what's going on in the music. I'm not here to listen to always angry music, and which is great. There's benefits to that. And I got it. And then a couple years later, I got a chance to hang out with your band member and such and such. So that's my blind,
I remember when that happened. Let me ask you this.
Yes.
Why did you gravitate towards angry music?
Well, I think, I guess.
I'm trying to flip the tables.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool because, okay, simply, I was an angry kid. Yeah. And I didn't have the best childhood as well, too. I grew up loving parents,
Okay.
but, I was an angry kid. So the music of heavy metal and even gangster rap, to be perfectly honest, yes, the show's called Rock It Up. I confess. But I listened to a lot of angry music. It just happened to be really cool. Like, when I was 12 years old, I used to listen to alternative rock, Smashing Pumpkins and Blind Melon. And, I got exposed to that. But I also like, Megadeth and Pantera, and Alice in Chains is like one of my favorites. So I like things a little bit harder. There was maybe more emphasis on guitar solos. So I like to fancy myself as a bit of a guitar nerd. So I definitely like certain scales and techniques associated with this style of music, right? But it was angry music to amp up an angry kid. And along the way, I mellowed out. So since so I listened to angry music because I was an angry dude.
I'll say this: like, I didn't listen to like the stuff that was like angry. Like I was angry, but I don't know. I was more like kind of emotionally like destroyed, I guess maybe. But I didn't. All that kind of hard. I mean, I'm a little bit older than you, obviously. So like that stuff all happened. Like when I listen to like hard music, like I liked the first Motley Crue record. I liked the Shout of the Devil record. I loved Iron Maiden. And then and I loved AC/DC. But at a certain point, I was like, I like hit songs.
Yes, I like hit songs. I love hit songs.
And so like I was like I really started like getting into. I mean, I always like followed the radio, and I would drive around every night by myself on rural back roads for like an hour, and just listen to the radio and sing, songs to the radio.
I love it.
Like corny shit.
Steve Miller stuff, and
Steve Miller, I can sing almost every. I could. Like,
no, you cannot. Okay, give me a verse right now. I want to hear a little "Take the Money and Run." I'm putting on the spot.
Okay.
Go on, take the money.
Wait.
Key of G, sir.
Well, I gotta have the lyrics, so I gotta look at the lyrics.
This is a story about Billy Joe and Bobby Sue.
Bobby Sue.
Uh-oh. Hold on. Let's patch him back in. This is incredible. I lost him, but I'll get him back. I want to hear this Steve Miller.
I'm back.
All right. I don't know what happened, but I don't know.
This is a story about Billy Joe and Bobby Sue.
Young lovers with nothing better to do. Sorry, I had to get that in there. Continue.
Now you're too high. Yeah.
I was harmonizing. That was the harmony line right there.
Yeah, man. Okay. So you're going up there. Well, okay. I got a lag here. Then we gotta get things in. Man.
Oh wow.
I know, but like I never really sang like thinking of myself as a singer, until like 3 years ago, really.
Well, that was one of the questions that I wanted to.
Always.
That was one of the questions that I was going to ask you a little bit later on. You were saying we were talking a little bit about how we listen to angry music, but I think we both kind of mellowed out. And you're talking about You're talking about how I guess you're listening to angry music, but you always love catchy music. And I have to tell you, Rogers, I love a good melody, and I do love catchy stuff as well too. I think there's a way to do it. In a way where it's not so sugary sweet. I think this is the thing to not get too sugary sweet, but also maybe throw in a bit of flex your musicianship muscle maybe to combat that. But there's nothing wrong with great chord progressions with great melodies.
I have, look, there are plenty of virtuosos out there.
Yep.
Okay, but there's not very many of them who are also like composers who can, because the stuff that I'm interested in is somewhat crude. I mean, it doesn't belong on the walls of the Louvre or something. There's an element. I mean, the greatest rock and roll band is the Rolling Stones, in my mind.
Right.
Like the greatest rock recording is probably Jumpin' Jack Flash or something like that.
And it's not a million trillion notes.
Other sort of.
When you think about Jumping Jack Flash, when you think about a song like Jumping Jack Flash, it's genius. 3-4 chords. Maybe there might be 4 chords in the song, right? But it's very catchy. Gas, gas, gas. Stuff like that. Like, it's the stuff that's sticks in your brain, and I can really admire.
There's another thing about it, though. That to me is more important about it than the progression or whatever. First of all, it's the execution of a very simple idea. It just did not play like people don't play like that anymore, right? Perform like that anymore. And so there's that, but there's also, it's closer to the source of what rock and roll is about. I mean, if you think about what the actual term rock and roll is a metaphor for, it's basically sex, And, I have this problem sometimes, in my generation, bands that came out and just like staring at their shoes, and they're not entertaining. They're not like Ziggy Stardust.
Mm-hmm.
They're not. They're complaining about their childhood or something. But that's not what it's about. Like the stuff that I like anyway. The things that I like are. It's like sort of a libertine sort of aesthetic, and I like. Sympathy for the Devil. I like songs that are about sex or whatever. I mean, to me, like rock and roll sort of got away from that in a way, which is, I'm not the arbiter of good taste, so I don't really know. But
I have to tell you, pivoting a little bit, but I have to tell you, music in the 90s was. Especially on the radio, is much better than the stuff I'm hearing now. I'm so sad because everything that I really loved, again, a big fan of comic book, but these movies are like 6 out of 10s. I feel like rock and roll, what's being presented to the masses, like a 6 out of 10. Things that I liked, heavy like metal music, 6 out of 10.
It's a dead genre, right? In a way, it's like jazz in a sense.
Well, I mean, the interesting thing is that there are some bands that are still keeping rock and roll alive. It's just that it's not being pushed to the front. Well, there's a band called Blackberry Smoke, for example, or Rival Sons that you don't hear about them on the Grammys.
I know Blackberry Smoke.
Yes.
Yeah, I know who they are.
Right, and pardon?
They're big, though, right?
Well, they have this organic cult following, and I mean that in a very nice way. They don't get radio play typically. They don't, win Grammys. Neither does Rival Sons, and people really seem to enjoy that.
Yeah.
So there's a couple bands that are holding up the banner.
Send me that. I'd be game to hear whatever recommendations. Yeah, somebody sent me this band Goose doing a Blind Melon song, and I was like, okay, that's cool. And then I was driving down the road, and I heard them on the radio, and I was like, this is a great recording of a great song. Like, I really liked it. It was like, I don't know. I liked that. I randomly heard this guy, John Moreland, who I like a lot. I always loved Wilco.
Wilco, yes.
So, but I grew up with country music. If you listen to Blind Melon, it's not that damn far from the Allman Brothers in a way or something.
Well, actually,
we had a little bit more pop and heavy metal in it.
But the thing is, and it's really great to hear, especially the sophomore album. It's very, very good. Soup, and you hear a song like 2x4. And I want to ask you about this. This is one of my favorite songs, but there's a lot of math rock that's going on in these songs. They're like it's not so formulaic. Some of these songs.
That's my song. Like that, I had that piece of music written almost just like that.
How many different time signatures?
And
I
I
always
have
try to
no
count
idea.
that. How many different time
I think it's
signatures?
like, it's a
Da- da-
I think
ba-
it's
ba-
like, I don't know.
But then it goes into
Ask Glenn.
6/8 with the wee.
I think it's like 5/4 or something like that. Or there's like an extra 2 beats. It's like
Yeah, but it goes into 4/4. Doesn't
Yeah.
it goes
No,
into
does.
4/4 and
4/4 gets it. It's like Bonham would do it, right? Like Bonham, played whatever 4/4 over Black Dog.
mm-hmm.
So, he played that like a straight beat over that. Like you can really, there's a little bit of math in there. But I didn't do it. If you asked me to do the math, it would be a disaster.
Oh,
Glenn.
it's very tricky.
But I had that piece of music pretty much just like that. And then, Shannon went away for like a few hours and came back and it was done. Came back with the vocal.
It's very tricky, in my opinion, to piece together a song with multiple, even one time signature change, and that one has at least 2 that I can think of, and it seems so
it goes to that
effortlessly.
weird waltz at the end.
Exactly, I think 6/8, right?
With my out of tune guitar solo.
It's a really nice song.
There's so many things I wish I could have back. You know what I would do to that solo now? I would put an echo flex on it and make it, and I would pan it, and I would make it sound epic. I was trying to do something like that, but I didn't know how to articulate that, And I just thought, make it sound huge. I was trying to make that record sound heavier. Like I felt like we were like kind of pigeon. People calling us the Doobie Brothers and stuff. Which, hey, I like the Doobie Brothers. I still want to do the Doobie Brothers.
I don't think of the Doobie Brothers.
On our first record,
right?
Not on the second one.
No.
I felt like we were a heavy band. Like I wanted to be heavier, so like I was like pushing the envelope like that, and like a couple other things that I put in, like Lemonade or something, which was just ridiculous.
I wanted to ask you, was there, because the first album and, the big juggernaut hit No Rain and Tones of Home and stuff, because it was so successful, was there a lot of pressure to come out with the next album? And, well, was there?
Well, I think if you listen to Soup, you would conclude that we were unaware of that pressure. Or otherwise chose to thumb our nose at. We didn't think that we were doing that. We thought we were making a cool record. But you have to understand, on our label at the time, our record came out at the same time on the same label as Radiohead's first record. Now, they had that big hit, right, which I
Creep.
still love to this day.
Creep.
And like I thought, that was different than everything else that was happening. It was a more advanced level of songwriting. But, I don't think the rest of the record was all the way there yet. But then they came out with the Bends, right? And I think that came out before Soup, I think.
That had the song.
It was like, we were very aware of it, like at the time, it's like they made this huge leap on our label, right? So did the Beastie Boys. Same thing. They came with, Paul's Boutique and then Check Your Head was right around that time. This was all happening on Capitol.
Right.
And so we were inspired by that. We're like, oh, you can do anything you want. You don't have to fucking have a hit record. And we never thought about hit songs. We wanted to have hit songs. It wasn't that we didn't want to have a hit. But we 100% followed our nose in terms of where the kinds of music we were going to put. We fought like cats and dogs amongst ourselves, about what songs we were going to release or even work on. Because everybody was writing. It was a nightmare in that way.
Well, unfortunately, I think you might know where I'm going with this. The world lost a great singer on October 21st, 1995. At the age of 28, the tender age of 28, we lost Mr. Shannon Hoon, which was, a tragedy, and the rock world still feels it. How difficult was it for you to try to find a new, unique singer as good or even better than Shannon Hoon, if that's even possible?
Well, I mean, come on. I mean, that's a pretty that's a tough question right there because I mean that was never considered that we could ever. I mean, what you imply, someone better might erase Shannon's memory. But that was never possible because I mean we knew. I knew from the day I met him, and it was like we became very close friends, and we were tight. We were brothers, and so he could never be replaced, or he could never be superseded or exceeded in any way. So after he died, about a year later, we finished the Nico record, which was just a magical experience, actually. Because when we started that record with like telephone recordings, just Shannon on a cassette, that sort of stuff. I mean, we really made something there, and it was magic. It felt like he was, there with us, and we were really proud of that record. And then, and then we thought, sometime later that we would try to find somebody, but nothing worked for a couple of years until we gave up. Really, I think.
And I know Chris. Sorry.
About.
Continue. I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to tell about meeting Travis, but I don't want to. But go ahead.
Well, I was just going to throw in there before Travis. I know that a couple other members were doing a production. I know Brad and Chris produced a really great band from West Virginia called American Minor. Those guys, in my opinion...
Oh, yeah. They were cool, yeah.
One of the best bands that never truly make it. Yeah, I have their album, actually. I think I have it in my bag over yonder. But it was very, very good stuff.
You guys, man, and you, I remember, you're a monster guitar player. I remember thinking, dude, I'll stay home. Let's get this guy to play guitar for Blind Melon. He'll make it better.
Oh, my God.
And we'll get, and there's that. And I'll just collect the accolades and the money.
Well, sign me up. Oh my God! Thank you so much for saying that.
I'm
That's.
kidding.
Oh, I know. What? But still, I like that.
Nah, you're a ripping guitar player. You're kind of like a. What kind of guitar do you play?
Well, I have a Les Paul.
When you play your big rock guitar. That's what I thought.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. I spent a lot of time, learning riffs from riff master Jerry Cantrell and Kim Thale. Being a young Indian boy, I learned a lot from Soundgarden, one of the bands that you toured with, which is, I'm sure you got lots of great stories. I spent a lot of time playing electric guitar and neglecting the acoustic guitar. But the thing is I hate rock music played on acoustic guitar. I think acoustic guitar should be treated with beautiful chords, broken chord picking, diminished chords. I think it should be.
Talk to you about this all night.
Yeah, well, that's why I wanted to talk to you yesterday, because I could talk to you all night about this. Now, full disclosure.
I'm very strong. I mean, I saw, I went to that Alice in Chains Unplugged show.
Oh.
They did it in Brooklyn.
That's amazing.
And, we knew those guys. So, and I knew Jerry a little bit, probably better than the rest of them. But, and I thought they were one of the better ones of those shows, but I never got that. It was they always got up there, they did these Unplugged shows, all of my peers, I guess, or whatever. We never got asked to do it, but we would have fucked it up too. But everybody got up there and just sort of played the songs like they would if they had electric guitars.
Well, that's the thing. I have to be honest with you. There's a couple.
I don't understand that at all.
Yes,
what would Jimmy Page do, right?
Exactly. And the thing is for me, and again, Alice in Chains and Pantera were my two favorite bands from the 90s. When I saw, they did Down in a Hole, it sounded beautiful. That song, I think, lent itself to being acoustic. But there's a song in particular, it's called Sludge Factory. It's a beautiful song, but it's a beautiful song rocked out. When they did it acoustic, they basically played their electric parts on acoustic. I'm like, yeah, I think that, I don't know, I wish they found a way to do it differently because it's acoustic. So, that's the thing.
I hear you. 100%.
So for me, it's
100%. You have to have time to rework it, with the whole group. But I'll tell you, that's a pain.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that, I grew up playing, or hearing music that was done, Willie Nelson, or even Elvis's band. Now, if you put acoustic guitars in Elvis's band, in the hands of Elvis Band in the 70s, the 1970s. That band, they were amazing. One of the greatest, acts that's ever been in like contemporary pop music. Nobody knows who they were really, unless you're like a real geek. Because I was just the star, right? But that band, the band that's like on Suspicious Mind, right? You think about that. If you listen to that recording, you listen to that drummer. But I guarantee you, like, those guys are all like Nashville musicians or something, I'm sure. And so if you put acoustic guitar, they would treat it completely differently.
I think you have to. And so, I spent a lot of time playing the big riffs, and I think it's important for rock and roll music. But just like Zeppelin, and I think, again, what would Jimmy Page do? There's a time to rock it up. I had to sneak that in there with their Black Dogs and, their rock and rolls. But then there's times where you got to play the hey, what can I do? And that's not meant to really be, ripping solos and all that kind of stuff. It's, acoustic folk, campfire music. And one of the things I love about Zeppelin or the Doobie Brothers that I admire is they have the versatility. And I truly cannot hear rock music on acoustic.
Listen to On Sticky Fingers, right? The Rolling Stones. Like when I hear that record, I think, what's that? I Got the Blues. As I sit by the fire, you that too? I got the blues. That's a great song.
Well, you might have a panic attack, but I have to tell you, I actually never really got into the Stones all that much. I've always been a Zeppelin guy, and I never bought Exile or Beggar's Banquet. I saw it and I didn't buy it. I can honestly tell you this: I don't have any Rolling Stone records.
I understand. It's like you would think that like somebody who's like in the music business or whatever would know all of it. But I just started getting into J.J. Cale. I've heard him before, but I don't really know him. But like when you hear those records, you hear his first record. That's a masterpiece, and there's hit songs on that record. After Midnight, go. I mean, he wrote that song. He wrote. I think he wrote "Lay Down, Sally." I know he wrote. He wrote a couple of hits for Clapton, for sure. But I don't know. I do like. I listen to. The song is the most important thing.
Mm-hmm. I
get into like a killer guitar riff, but if you listen to Led Zeppelin, even like a song like Black Dog, if you actually listen to that guitar closely, it's clean. It's loud and clean. And it's not like it's distorted like if you listen to like No Quarter or something, that overdub that comes in at the top of the song, it's like that's distortion. But he relied 100% on turning up a very large power tube source, and getting loud, clean guitars. It's sustained.
Oh,
and it's hard to do, but he was an absolute genius in the studio. And those amps are useless, live in a small venue. You have to be playing stadiums to play them.
Hey,
I don't know how, I listen to your stuff, and I don't know how you got that sound. Like, I could never get big, crunchy, guitar sounds.
Oh, pish posh. Just go get a Marshall head and Les Paul, let her rip. Come on now.
Never could get a good sound out of one.
Well, you can come visit me in Mississauga. You got to try my Marshall head. I got the 73 modded 100 watt, and this thing is killer. And I bought it for $2,000.
Yeah, I do want to hear that.
Well, funny enough, I'll send you something.
I'm not substantial enough to control it. You know what I mean? The guitar, I got to be a little more delicate with it or something. But that's like when I hear that, I'm like, man, that's the sound. All that low end, big iron. So big transformers.
Mr. Rogers Stevens, I have a question from our good friend. We have actually quite a few mutual friends, but Mr. Dave Pepler, you know who he is, right?
I know Dave, yeah, absolutely. Yes. I've met Dave probably, I don't know, how many times, 10 times?
He's a good dude.
Shows and stuff. And
I've never met him before,
Yeah,
but
he's a cool dude.
we are burrito brothers. I love a good burrito and shawarma, which is a Mediterranean cousin to the burrito, FYI. So says I. But he loves burritos even more than I do. This guy is an enthusiast, and we get along very well for a variety of reasons. But he wanted me to ask you a question. Do you mind if I ask it to
Okay.
you?
Yeah, go on. Yeah.
So in a past interview, I think you said something about Woodstock '94 was like beer fest. What Dave wants to know is, what type of beer were you drinking 30 years ago, 29 years ago?
I don't know. That's not. I never would have said that because I
Dave,
don't want to think that. But I never drank beer. I only started like back then. I was drinking the hard stuff. I had to stop that.
uh-huh.
Much later, I stepped down a tier and drank wine for several years, and then I bumped down to the next level, and I just drink beer.
Well, speaking of beer, out in Pennsylvania, is Yingling, is that the company that's really big around there?
Yeah, it's right around here. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, they're around here.
You don't live anywhere close to Roland, Pennsylvania for some reason. Do you know it's in the Poconos? I visited Pennsylvania.
No.
No?
Oh, no, yeah. The Poconos is about an hour away.
It's about an hour
I
away.
live really like probably 15 minutes from the Philly airport.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay.
Yeah, so it's that place. I'm in a Philly.
Philly is, I got a chance to visit that place too. And, the parts that I seen was really nice. But then I heard there's places like Kensington that you got to stay away from. I think that's in Philly.
Well, hey, I mean, it's got, it's really got challenges like a lot of big cities, right? I mean, it's, I don't think staying away is the answer to completely changing. Yeah. But there is a lot of sadness there, and it breaks your damn heart. I don't have answers about what to do about that sort of, about these
Yeah.
things,
A lot of sadness out there.
But, yeah.
Well, moving on. Let's talk a little bit about how you guys got the band back together around 2005, 2006. How did you end up discovering Travis Warren?
Well, that was we had sort of stopped really thinking about that. I was living in New York. Brad and Christopher were living out in Los Angeles. Glenn was, I think he was either down in New Orleans or was already up in North Carolina at the time. But we would see each other and things would come up that we would talk and whatever. But, we'd moved on with our lives. And Brad and Christopher had a studio out in Los Angeles,
Mm-hmm.
out in the Valley, and they were recording acts, and they had a couple hit records with some, artists they were, recording, and then
Oh yeah, I know all about that.
somebody from Atlantic Records brought Travis by. They were interested in his band at the time, but for whatever reason that didn't work out, and they were and Travis had mentioned to somebody there that he was a fan of Blind Melon. And he came by the studio where, it's out, it's called Studio Wishbone out in the Valley. And they hung out and he sang some songs with him. And I got an email or a text from Brad. This would have been in 2000, at the end of 2006 or beginning of 2007. And he said, "Hey, we met this dude out here today, and I swear he sang us a couple of Blind Melon songs, and man, he's unbelievable. He nailed it."
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "Well, that's interesting." I mean, I didn't have any interest in doing a cover band or our own band, but I did. I was interested in what he was writing, because for me, that's all that matters. If I'm not making new records, I'm out. I can't do it.
Yeah, I
That's
hear
all
you.
I care about in this whole thing.
It's all about the good tunes.
So, I do like touring and I do like playing and all that stuff, but it has to be we just put a record out and here we are, that sort of thing. So, I heard him sing something. I heard one of his demos. I was like, yeah, he was good. I liked it. It was good. And so I decided, we all talked on the phone, Brad, Glenn, Christopher, and I, and decided that we would come out to Los Angeles. And so, like, a week later, I was flying out there, and Glenn was flying out there. We got into a room, and the plan was, my thinking was, look, I know he can write his own songs. He's made this, all these demos. But to do this, I would think he would at least have to be able to sing like a good bit of some songs that we did, if we're going to be like, continue as a band, which, I was kind of against anyway. But we got into the room and ran through like an hour's worth of Blind Melon songs, and every one of them was just absolutely stunning. I mean, it was incredible. It was like, first of all, we all were playing really well. But, I mean, Shannon's not an easy singer to hit for male singers, I think. Or anyone, really, a lot of times. He's got a unique approach, and he's up there,
Would you have considered a woman?
Stratosphere.
I mean, did it ever come up to...
Yeah, I mean, we did, actually. We did, but, we didn't... I don't know, like, we didn't get a lot of, like, contenders. We didn't get a lot of, outreach or people, like...
Couldn't get Sass Jordan involved or something.
I don't know. Like, I could see, look, somebody like that, somebody who's already got a career is not going to want to do this.
Yeah. Right.
The only person who would want to do it, it's like, why would you do that? I mean, unless you already had a relationship. It's just not... It's a bad situation, But,
Well, hypothetically, if Sass Jordan did do it, wouldn't it be kind of cross-promoting? Like, you get a lot of Sass Jordan fans' attention to Blind Melon. Couldn't it have been mutually beneficial?
I don't know. Like, here's the thing. I wouldn't do that, though, unless I knew that Sass Jordan was a great songwriter.
Right.
And I don't know that. So, like, I mean, maybe she is. I don't know.
Fair enough.
I just don't know enough about her. I mean, I've heard her sing. She's got a big voice. I know that. But,
yeah.
Like, for me, like, I need somebody who's got a point of view that, like, because that's really what the band is about, right? It's not, I mean, everybody could kind of play and we could kind of make some songs or whatever, but, like, there's a message that resonated, with people that's, it's not just, like, you're just kind of singing some shit, It's got to be like a point of view, and it's got to be meaningful. And so, I mean, that's the reason why people still like the band now. I mean, there's a lot of people who've had kind of similar success that I don't think maybe people care about as much anymore. I don't know.
Well, another follow-up question is, was there...
Shannon had a message. Shannon connected with people. There's a huge number of Shannon fans, and a subset of those are also Blind Melon fans.
I know.
Right,
I know. And I wanted to ask you a little bit about, the transition. Initially, when Travis was on board, was there some backlash from some real hardcore fans? Was it hard for some people to accept that you guys are moving on?
Yeah, I mean, hey, I don't begrudge them that. It was hard for all of us, I think. And even Travis, I think, to step in and like do what he was doing. I mean, I have to say, I had tremendous respect for his fortitude.
Well, stepping into a great man's shoes.
He never lost track. He never lost track of like himself as like as an artist, right? What he did was he came in and he delivered emotional performances of Shannon songs. And he also, like, wrote some new songs. That's what he did. And I respect that. I have tremendous respect for that. He wrote some good ones. I mean, I really liked a lot of stuff, he did, So I think that, but I do appreciate, and it's just an impossible situation. Like, we were thinking, there was no real analog to what we were trying to do other than, I guess, AC/DC. But even with them, like the band, Bon Scott was a star, but so was Angus. nobody knew who any of us were in Shannon, right? Shannon's band.
Right. And,
So,
it's tough to, arguably the singer is the most important member of the band, certainly the one who gets the most attention. And, it's hard when
the vocal in any hit song on the radio, what most people care about, 85% of it is the top line lead vocal.
Mm-hmm.
That's what matters.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, the rest of it, you could do cool riffs and you can have cool shit going on in
Mm-hmm.
the background and all kinds of stuff, right? You can make a cool sounding record. You can produce it right, all stuff. But if the top line vocal and the melody and the lyric doesn't connect with the listener, it'll never be a hit.
Well, the common
So
person...
unless you just, like, pump, like, so much marketing dollars into it that people just can't help it.
No, and I agree. When the common person is showering, are they, singing drum fills or walking bass lines, like an Allman Brother bass line?
Only
No.
musicians do that.
That's exactly it. So, and that's what we
musicians care
do.
about that.
Yeah, and it's a great riff is cool. However,
I mean, people like a ripping guitar solo. People appreciate a bass line. Of course, the general public, they can hear greatness in musicianship or in a beat, or like even in cleverness in the production. Where absolutely, music fans know this stuff.
mm-hmm.
But what matters, what even puts it on their plate, I think. Not everybody, right? There's people who only listen to instrumental music or something.
Of course, a slim percentage of people, perhaps.
But I'm just talking the stuff that I care about, I guess, most, and the stuff that I think is on the radio most is about the vocal.
Mm-hmm. It is. Mm-hmm. A special tone of voice, something very unique and different, hopefully, with a great melody, with a message that connects to the masses. If you had a beautiful melody, but it's talking about, killing the whales and nuking countries, that's probably not what people want to hear, I hope. It could be the sweetest sounding melody, but, I don't know. I don't know if people want to hear that.
Or if it's just bland.
Well,
or if the singer is delivering it with something that feels like conviction,
Well, speaking of
That's
bland,
the problem, I think, you mentioned this earlier with your, I don't know, new stuff, I feel like it's a 6 out of 10 or something. And for me, there's just this, and I've seen it happen in sessions. I've seen it happen, and I don't do this for this reason, but the advent of recording on the hard drives, digital audio workstations and editing and making everything perfect.
mm-hmm.
I know there's a lot of people who complain about this, and you sound like a Luddite if you do it. But and I think there's people who can do it as well, but you can suck the life out of a record really quickly.
Yeah,
if you fix everything that's wrong with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't do that.
That's not keeping it real.
We never did it. You look at the Blind Melon records, the guitars are out of tune. There's so many things wrong on Blind Melon records, but when the good ones really worked.
Yeah, I don't believe in heavily editing things like that. That's kind of going against the keep it real vibe that I try to keep. And keeping it real is what it's all about. I know I have to be.
What rock bands are good that make? What rock bands now make records like that? Dan? Who makes a record like Iron Butterfly or something, like a performance of a band, or it's not been overly.
Well, there's a couple bands that come to mind where, again, we talked about Blackberry Smoke, but if you get a chance, check out the Steel Woods, Whiskey Myers. It's southern rock, but it's some pretty cool stuff. Of course, Rival Sons is doing some great stuff. There's a band out in the Netherlands called D Wolf that is pretty cool. There's a whole heap of stuff out there, but it's kind of an underground movement. It's not the stuff that makes it to the masses is Nickelback. I really don't want to say anything disparaging about anybody, but I will say this. After living through the 90s and romanticizing the 70s, I cannot digest 6 out of 10. If somebody serves me, it upsets me that I'm being presented something that's a 6 out of 10, but presented to me like a 10 out of 10. And that's great marketing, but I'm not going to eat at McDonald's either. I'm just, no matter how juicy that burger looks on TV land, not going to do it.
I'll say this, and I'll say this about all that, is that whatever is making it across the airwaves to your ears. Is just a slice of what's out there, but what is consistent is the sort of average level of human innovation and creativity. So these people are out there who made the records you like. They just might be doing something entirely different.
Well, I mean,
You know what I mean? It's like that sort of mindset, that sort of level of talent. I mean, I don't know if it's rock and roll that they're making now because they heard it and they're like, oh, okay, next. And they're doing something different. And I don't really know what it is. I don't really know very much about what happened in music in the last 20 years other than, just random stuff.
my favorite thing about my car is the CD player. So when I have to do a CD change, this is old school, like 1995. I can assure you the car is 2012. It's safe. But my favorite thing about it is the CD player, legit. The only time, however, I listen to the radio is when I'm changing a CD. And I'll listen to a couple bars. I'm like, okay, what is this? Because, I think it's important to kind of keep current, And I don't completely want to be that old guy yelling at you to get off my lawn and all. But some of this stuff is just not good. I'm sorry. It's downright pathetic. I'm just going to be honest with you.
Well, I figure stuff have you listened to the latest Wilco record? That's a good album.
You know what? I
think about albums. I don't think about singles necessarily as much,
Mm-hmm.
but even though I love hit songs.
Yeah.
When I'm thinking about albums, I think it's like a Tetris puzzle, to put an album together.
Mm-hmm.
But I loved the last Tool album, for example. I listened to that, but I didn't find out about it until like a year later. And I listened to it a bunch. I loved the last Fiona Apple record. I listened to that, but only like 2 years after it came out. So, it eventually makes it to me. So maybe if you're like me, you're not in the radio business, which you can't do that. But, I wait to see whatever survives after, the hype. Kendrick Lamar, my God. He's like Miles Davis.
Well,
so, that's the stuff I listen to. Like, if I hear something new, I'm like, that's great. I think Tyler, the Creator, is incredible.
There's a lot of talented people out there, and the sad reality, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's a band right now in Germany that kicks ass. You've probably never heard of them, and why would you? There's a lot of great music that's out there, and I know this for a fact, in Croatia.
Scorpions.
Well, yeah, Scorpions, people know who they are, but there's a lot of great obscure bands, and that's, until, they ever, had a team, a booking agent, if they're ever able to get a well-connected manager, they're just going to stay in a garage. Great stuff is never going to be discovered. That's a sad reality.
Yeah.
Speaking of...
my thing with that is I'm going to try to make hit songs.
Yes.
But I'm just going to, put them out there and hope for the best.
Well,
I don't know.
There's so many things I want to talk about. However, I have to be aware of the time. Speaking of new music and great songs, why don't you tell me a little bit about this new project, Town and Stevens, which we're going to hear very, very soon. Very, very soon. But tell me about what you're doing right now.
Right now, I'm standing in my studio that I built sort of over the last couple of years to do this. But it's all taken apart because I built it kind of ad hoc and piecemeal, and so it became inefficient at some point. And so I unplugged everything, moved everything out of the room, and I'm putting it all back together this weekend. But I'm starting on the next one. But at some point, during the pandemic, and I felt like I became overwhelmed with grief, to be honest. That I feel like I didn't make the records that I set out to do when I started doing this when I was a teenager, when I was focused. And so and I had no power. I didn't have a studio I've never had a good studio. I've never produced and engineered a record. I never really sang. But during the pandemic, I've been sitting out here. I learned hundreds of cover songs, which I can still do now. Almost everything I can remember that I liked from the 1970s to date. And that's how I taught myself to sing. And I started, I have, decades of songs. They weren't finished, so I just decided to start finishing them and singing them. And I don't know, it just started to work. And then, I'd been working with Nate. We had started, Nathan Town, the talent of Town and Stevens. We had he plays bass in Blind Melon now, and we had been trying to write songs for the Blind Melon recording.
He's phenomenal. I got a chance to see some.
We were just doing it.
I got a chance to hear him play, and it was just fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, he's a master, right? He can play, beautifully on, any sort of style of guitar, but more classical, I guess, or jazz, or Django, But for this, what I found out about Nate working on Blind Melon records with him was, he came in and I said, look, just, do it like sort of like McCartney, but with James Jamerson. And because he was playing bass, and he instantly got that and did it. From then on, he didn't have to say a word. But he plays every instrument pretty damn well. I mean, he is an amazing piano player.
Wow.
Which is all over this record. The piano is the basis of this record. I would write little simple parts on the piano, for the songs I was writing. And I would just say, here's the hook, just play it. He would just do it. It would be amazing. But, he would add so much to it. So we just really kind of hit it off. It's the greatest collaboration I've ever had.
Well, we have about 10 minutes left. I was thinking, why don't we... I can talk to you for a while. And actually, if you are interested, I would love to teach you this ear training exercise. If you're ever interested, I would.
Yeah, I'm half-deaf. Let's get it going.
Okay.
I need some... that was the thing about learning to sing. It's pitch, right? It's like, I could make, I had to make the tone good, but you have to... I could hear that it was off, but I had to learn to control it,
When you honk your horn in your car, I'll tell you in 3 seconds what note that is. I'll explain to you one day in great length if you allow me to. I hope that this is the start of a beautiful friendship. I want to play 2 songs.
I've seen things like this. I've read about this. Yeah, okay. I definitely want to hear about it, Darren.
Cool, man. Well, let's hear a couple of your songs right now. I'm looking at songs like Throwing Shade on Sunshine, Spell of Aging, Do It.
Yeah, play that one.
Okay, which 2 songs do you want?
Play Throwing Shade, and those 2, Throwing Shade and Spell of Aging, are perfect.
Perfect.
Representation of the band.
Excellent. Mr. Roger Stevens, thank you so much for your generosity, your time, calling into CFRE. I really appreciate it, and your friendship. I'm so honored that we were able to connect. And I'm going to send you something immediately, like right now, but I would love to have a follow-up chat with you and just hang out for like 3 hours if you want and just talk music, comic books, whatever. Is that cool?
Yeah, man, listen, Yeah, no, listen, let's catch up, man. I want to hear what you send me, and I want to look at that because I believe that I've unlocked potential, Darren, and I believe that you might be able to help me.
Well, oh man, I'm honored. I'm going to send you a DM right now, and please, feel free to say whatever you have to say. But we're going to hear your 2 songs right now, okay? Roger Stevens, thank you so much. Thank you for rocking it up for 30 years, and we appreciate your time. Thank you.
I appreciate you, Darren. Take care, man.
Take care, brother. Bye-bye. Wow, that was one heck of an interview. We have 8 minutes, and my special guest Roger Stevens gave a lot of time, and very thankful for that. We're running out of time with Rock It Up, but I think maybe me and Alex are going to do an impromptu wrestling radio show after this. We might need a cigarette or first, but okay. Anyways, let's hear these 2 songs, Throwing Shade on Sunshine and Spell of Aging by Town and Stevens on Rock It Up. I'm excited.
You make me wanna cry. Anyway, you please don't decline when you're hungry. I give you mine. I'm not enough for you, but I try. So come on now, oh, I'm roughing up the suspect while you're sitting on your treasure. Come on now, I think I cried you dry. If you need to find your truth, you're living a So let's not waste this wine. Throw your phone on the floor and change your mind. You made me feel my air supply. So come on now, oh, like I'm falling from your favor and the wine is like I'm flavor. Come on now, I think I'm gonna get wild. I ain't heard your pains today, one right after another. There ain't nobody else to blame. All we have is each other. can you do? We're surrounded by fools, and all we have is each other. And sometimes you cause me to tremble, tremble, won't you please define what you mean when you were second time? 'Cause if I had another day to break the spell of aging, I'd be wasting time. And if I had another day, oh, I'd be wasting time. And sometimes he calls me to tremble.
All right, we are back here on Rock It Up Radio. Now, the show is over, but I'm going to go overtime right now. Hold on for a second. Okay, I'm going to go overtime and put a new friend on air, and we'll play one more song. And then, me and my guest Alex, who never got a chance to talk all that much, we're going to have a piss break, to be honest with you. And we're going to impromptu host a wrestling radio show and play some cool music. We'll hang out for 1 hour, maybe even 2 hours. I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. You drove from far to come over here, so
Oshawa, baby.
yeah. Hold on for a second. Hold on for 1 second. Okay. All right. We're calling Buffalo now. Calling lots of different places. My arm is sore.
Just rested on the mic.
Hello,
Hey, man.
Mr. Jamie Trussler. How are you?
Good. How are you, Darren?
I'm good. And I'm not the only person in this conversation that's a radio friend now. You've been doing this for a long time, right?
Right. I've been in radio for 20 years.
Now, are you? I can't remember because it was a couple of days ago. We chatted at great length on Messenger. Are you an on-air personality?
No.
No, you're behind the scene, right?
Sales manager. Strictly sales.
Okay. I have a friend in TV that sells spots to businesses and whatnot. So you're not the only friend I have that's involved in the ads, right? Parts of the business.
Correct. Basically, we sell air.
Fun stuff.
It's good.
We're at the tail end. I don't know if you got a chance. No, you were at a high school reunion. Did you mention?
Yeah. I'm old.
Okay, no, that's okay. No, you're not. You look fantastic, let me tell you. Well, we just hosted a 90's episode, and my God, I talked a whole lot, but I got a couple of minutes for you. You're my new friend that we met on Facebook, on a Facebook group. I think it was a Gibson page, and you told me you like, the Black Crowes a lot and other cool bands. And
Yep.
I'm hosting a 90s episode right now. At the tail end, you're the last person, and then me and my friend are going to host a pro wrestling impromptu podcast.
Okay.
After we get into the right mood for that, of course. Gonna come to Buffalo, so I hope I get a chance to meet you, by the way, in August 10th. But tell me a little bit about some of the stuff that you listened to in the 90s.
Well, it all started basically. It started in the late '80s. Guns N' Roses was a big thing, and then it morphed into the '90s that became alternative.
Right.
So there was Lollapalooza, there was Jane's Addiction, there was all these different Red Hot Chili Peppers, different styles of music. We thought it was our '60s. It was a revolutionary time of music. I mean, that's how it felt. It wouldn't be far fetched to be a fan of the Black Crowes, a fan of George Clinton and Funkadelic and Miles Davis, all of that at the same time.
And funny you mentioned Lollapalooza, because my first concert ever was Lollapalooza in '96, and it kind of was a bit of a variety show kind of feel. Like, I remember the year I went, there was Ramones and Rancid, but there was also Screaming Trees.
I was at that one as well.
Yeah, Soundgarden and Metallica with haircuts.
Yeah, I'm a huge Soundgarden and Screaming Trees fan.
Oh, you're a big Soundgarden fan, are you? Well,
Oh, yeah, big time.
bam! What do you think that is right there? Being a brown guy who plays guitar, Kim Thayil was a guitar hero that helped make me and my dreams kind of come true. Not that I'm a big rock star like he is, but he made it possible for a lot of brownies.
By the way, your band, the Wayward Saints, is great.
Oh,
I mean,
thank
keep
you.
that going. I enjoy your music, man. It's great to see guys coming up and doing great rock and roll. So, hats off to you, buddy.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So, what was your favorite band from the '90s? I'm gonna dedicate a song. I just wanted to chat a little bit with you, as we're gonna wrap this up. I spent like an hour and a half talking, but tell me a little bit about some of the stuff you listened to.
Well, I like, obviously, the Black Crowes. The first time I saw them in 1993, it was a Southern Harmony tour.
With Mark Ford.
Yeah, with Mark Ford. You're a guitar player, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah, so Mark Ford's the guy.
that's right.
And Blind Melon, I always thought those two guitar players on that first album were on par. The symmetry that they had guitar playing with the two guitar combination of Mick Taylor and Keith Richards, Joe Perry and Brad Whitford, they had that two guitar thing going.
I actually, because I think I told you I worked with a Blind Melon member in the studio. We covered that in the interview. I asked him, how is it possible that Blind Melon and Black Crowes did not habitually play shows or tour together? Because that would, and maybe even the Blues Traveler would have been like the dream tour, for that era, because they kind of had that whole hippie thing going on in the early '90s, Cry of Love, Spin Doctors, I guess it was a Horde Festival, but Black Crowes and Blind Melon, as far as I know, never played.
Doctors. I lived with their manager in New York City.
What's that?
I'm friends with the Spin Doctors. I lived with their manager in New York City.
Wow.
I booked them at our local college
Really?
back in the 90s before they broke. And so there's a lot of stories. Man.
I've been peer pressuring guitar player Eric Schenkman, who lives in Toronto, to come on the show. He knows who I am.
Yeah, that's right. He's up there. He's a great guitar player.
And he's a good dude too. And I've literally been peer pressuring him, for like a couple years. I'm so busy. When he plays in Toronto, like a weekly jam night, I'm not really available because that's actually my jam night as well too. Like for like practicing and stuff like that. But I want to meet that guy. Now the thing with the Spin Doctors is that there are a lot of people that are not fond of them. I mean, when they came out, they sold a lot.
History ruined them. Listen, let me tell you. When I went to New York City, they hadn't broke big. They were a club band.
With the Blues Travelers.
Yeah, it's same with the Blues Traveler. They used to play at Wetlands.
Wetlands.
The Continental Divide was another place they played. Me and my friend would go and watch them, Spin Doctors, play till 4 a.m. and just do these jams. They were a raw, real good band. And I just think the record industry and the production, and they had the hits back then, but like the hits would have long jams. They would go, like I said, till 4 a.m. I mean, these jams, the hits that they had would probably be 10-minute long songs with guitar solos, bass solos. They were a real deal, cut your teeth, great rock and roll band. Eric Schenkman is a god to me. He was a great guitar player.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, I started really enjoying their music. I guess the song that really touched my heart is they had a song called "You Let Your Heart Go Too Fast." It's in the key of G. I think Shankman might have been in open G. He does in the video show while he's playing slide guitar. I hate playing in standard. You really got to put it in that open G, open D. That's normal. That's stuff that people usually do.
Yeah.
Right. And so, anyways, I love that song. I don't care. I've seen people slag them a lot, and okay, but I do like a couple of their songs, and I have to meet Shankman.
I don't think they deserve. If they were any of those people that slag them were to saw them in New York City in 1990, they would have a whole different opinion. And to me, that was just what the record industry grabbed and just created, and they don't understand the roots of that band, which they were a really top-notch New York City rock band.
Yeah. And Blues Traveler as well too. I think that before I dedicate a song to you, I will say this. I listened to a lot of angry music and a lot of metal and stuff in the 90s. But what I loved is as a grown man is that whole jammy scene that they had going on with the Crows, the bands like Blind Melon, Cry of Love. That was good stuff. Screaming Cheetah Wheelies, if you know what that is. You know who they were?
Yep.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
There was a band out of South Carolina too called the Matters. Yep.
Yeah, there's but I guess the big dogs was the Crows and Blind Melon, and then maybe Spin Doctors, Blues Traveler. But I think when history books, I think the Crows probably came out on top. After everything's said and done, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean,
they had songs, man. They had the musicality, they had the songs, they had the vibe. They just had it all.
That's the thing. You can see an amazing guitar player, and they can razzle dazzle you with guitar playing and all this kind of stuff, solos behind the back. If the songs are a 4 out of 10, great guitar playing is not going to save a bad song.
No, absolutely not. Chris Robinson, man, great songwriters. Some of the best.
Right. Well, fun fact, I actually got a chance to open up for the Black Crowes 15 years ago, almost to the date, July 11. I remember that because at that time was one of the most important things that I did in my life as a 25-year-old man. And that's almost 15 years ago to the date. So I think I should mention that to you.
That's a feather in your cap.
Yeah, and I'm not even wearing a cap. How about that? I'm going to dedicate a Wayward Saints song to you. Thank you so much for your friendship. And I'm going to be in Buffalo. I would love to hang out with you. Please come, because I don't go to Buffalo very much, but we'll be in touch on Messenger, and I'll message you closer to the date, okay? But have a wonderful evening, and I got a song that's going to be dedicated to you. It's called Pay No Mind by Wayward Saints.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, take care, friend.
Take care, Darren.
Bye-bye. And speaking to my friends, we are going to take about a 10 and 15-minute break to go to the washroom and whatnot.
Yeah, washroom.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
and
washroom.
We're going to come back and talk about wrestling because my friend over here, he came from a long way, and we're big wrestling fans. So if you don't want to listen, that's cool. But we're just going to hang out and just and chat, okay? But first, we're going to play some Wayward Saints on Rock It Up. Thank you so much for listening. You won't see me next week. Damn it. I can't find the CD. We're going to hear something from my old band Stone River. Here we go. Well, this is really irritating me. Okay. Fail. Big fail. Let's try this again on this other CD. I'm going to build Snap over here. Yeah, I definitely need a minute break. This is son of a bitch. Right here. What, is this thing jammed or what? Oh, okay, maybe we are going to hear some Wayward Saints, you idiot! That's me talking to myself. I have this thing queued up. Alright, here we go. Rock it up. And I'm out.
having fun.